where that bid goes, we'll just stay 5,000 above that. So their amount would be 155,000, and they approved that. So just wanted to inform you that, let you know.
Okay.
And finally, Friday was a wonderful day. I was contacted and informed that trucks were hauling coal out of the Shamrock mine. As White Stallion failed to submit their final payment installment on the bond agreement that we had put in place, they're basically in breach of the road usage agreement, which therefore they would have to use the road basically like anybody else. And currently we've got 10-ton load limits out. And it says in our agreement that if someone else hauls it out of there, they have to put up their own bond. Okay, so with all that in mind, spoke with Greg about it. Also talked with Sheriff Kleinhelter. He and I went out and we shut the mine down. Any loaded trucks that were in line on the way out, we had them go back and dump the load. Didn't allow anything new coming back in. Spoke with some people in the shed and was wondering, well, what kind of money would it take for us to continue to haul? And I said, well, I'll come up with a number. I know there were 89,000 and change short of enough for that agreement. Plus, I am also aware that they're, in arrears in property tax and several other things. So we went on ahead and closed them down later on in the afternoon. I got a really nice call from their attorney with several interesting comments, and I told him that I wasn't qualified to have this conversation. So I handed him off to Greg, and we found out a little bit later that we were just supposed to let them haul. So I don't like it, but I don't know that there's anything else that we can do about it. So that's just a FYI. I think, seeing what we're seeing now, I think, the way the climate is and the industry itself, I think it's going to be awfully hard to do another mine here in Nicholas County. It's just going to be really hard to convince. Because here we are, we're stuck. They're still hauling, or I guess going to resume again today, maybe. I haven't heard that for sure, but we're not supposed to hold them up. So if they go out and tear up that road, I guess we eat that too. Basically what I was told by that attorney is that we cannot impede their ability to try to pay off their creditors. So be that as it may.
How much coal is there for them to haul out? I mean, they're not mining, they're hauling what is already been mined.
They're hauling what was on the stockpile, and I believe they've been hauling on and off for about a month, according to what the one fellow said there. I had taken some pictures, and I didn't really spend a whole lot of time estimating, but I would bet they've probably, I think they were hauling with 6 trucks that day, and hauling over to the Charger mine, which is maybe 10 miles at best, so they can probably make 12 trips a day with 6 trucks. Probably in a week they'd be done. So I don't know.
This is like the worst
70,
ever.
70, yeah, 70, 80 loads a day for 5, 6 days times 20, 22 ton, whatever they can haul on there. So quite a bit there yet. So
So is it in our best interest to continue to try to stop them, or is it in our best interest to let them continue and hope we get made whole as much as we can?
I would like to think that within reason, we could try to protect our road as best they can, or at least force them to put up some money to assure that the road is gonna be substantially cared for. But with the advice of legal counsel, I think that's probably a question that's better answered by.
Right, so the conversations, not to cut you off, Steve, I was contacted as well. I reached out to our bankruptcy attorney on the matter, was advised that by stopping them or, trying to seek collection of things, it could be a violation of the stay order in the bankruptcy case, which I understood because, again, the nature of paying creditors and things of that nature, trying to avoid being risk adverse. Go ahead and open it back up, and I asked our counsel to, again, put together a plan or an update as far as what our next steps are supposed to be. I did that following our meeting on that Thursday, so on the 18th, and followed up each subsequent week and a phone call on Friday. So I don't want to be a broken record, but I'm awaiting a response to share with you guys. I've shared what our concerns are, they remain exactly the same.
Being in a bankruptcy doesn't give you unlimited authority to do things that were at one time a violation.
I think it may be the nature of how we enforce our current contract versus saying you need to pay X amount because that's a collection proceeding at that point versus a different route, and that's what I've asked for the solution on.
So our option could be to bring a civil suit against them for violation of our road use agreement, by which time they will be finished. By the time that we get any action on that, is that?
Well, I think even on that respect, in my knowledge of bankruptcies are more of the smaller realm. I can't file a collection case against an individual who has a bankruptcy pending because there's a stay order in place. That's in essence what we would be asking to do. We want to be made whole, and so do a lot of other people.
I guess I'm thinking, if I'm a creditor and you're filing bankruptcy, that doesn't give you the right to break laws to pay me.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, the bottom line of where I'm standing. Is it possibly that the road use agreement and those aren't laws, they're
contracts.
it's a contract, it's,
Do we have a tonnage limit right now?
No, the permit and them bonding the road gives them the right to use it as they need to, although they have to share the road with the public. So, as far as hauling a legal load, they're not obligated to do that, provided that they are within the MDOT guidelines when they get on their road, so.
any load is legal as long as they repair it after the fact.
Right, yeah. So that in mind, if they're in violation, then they have to adhere to our, current public road standards, which we have 10-ton load limits out on, so.
As a formality, should we send a cease and desist letter just to have something that we took some action, that we made a step, or is that not even?
My opinion is that any action we take should be on the guidance of the bankruptcy, which unfortunately I'm still seeking that answer on.
I don't have anything further.
Have you noticed any?
Sorry, I've sought it. I'm awaiting the response. It's not a matter of me seeking it.
Have you noticed any damage to the road as of yet? Have they been hauling for a month?
None that I've seen, although it's fresh pavement, so it'll be, it could be a little bit before we tell. Now, obviously with conditions as they are, everything is saturated in the freeze thaw, it's soft. It's likely we could see something. because I think they had gone through and repaired quite a few base problems from before, so, you know, you just have to see if they hold up. The 800 West portion
Yeah.
still had good soil cement on it, so I think there was just a condition that the surface was just getting wore, so it needed to be resurfaced to protect water from getting down into the base. 450, that's had major base work for 8 years now. It still continues to have some issues, so that's the one that concerns me the most.
I don't know how you, I mean, I think we somehow need to document what the condition of the road was and what the condition of the road is when they finally cease hauling, so that we've got that information if it comes up.
Okay. Okay.
You're saying send somebody out there today, look at it, document what we see, then at the end of the week,
Yeah.
if they are in fact done at the end of the week, if we notice cracks and
Yeah, I know there's, and, you know, by far, I'm not the most qualified person to speak on this, but I do not understand how, you know, yeah, they have the right to, you know, do what they can to pay their creditors off, but the ability to allow them to incur additional expense or damage to somebody else while they're doing this just doesn't make a whole lot of damn good sense. I don't like it, but there again, I don't know that there's anything we can do about it. So.
They're incurring more liability as they try to pay some people off. They're incurring more. Of course, they are in other ways too. I mean, the operation of the truck, the salaries, the fuel, and all of that, they're incurring more liabilities there.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know the legal part of that either. I know when Steve and I talked, I said it makes sense, or I always assume that once you declare bankruptcy, your assets are frozen and there's no movement whatsoever, but evidently not.
Now, a lot of times bankruptcy allows you to push people away from you and continue to do your business.
I know different types of bankruptcy, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ideally what we want. We want them to make money. We want them to continue operations. We don't want to impede that, but we can't do it at the risk of our assets.
Yeah.
Is I think the sticking point.
Yeah, and we're already damaged now as the fact that 750 is gone. Interesting thing too, while Tom and I were out there, we also saw a white SUV follow us back in as we were taking pictures of the piles. We turned around and headed back out. Well, they turned and headed out too. And I looked, although it was muddy, it was kind of a little bit hard to tell, but it looked like a municipal plate. So Tom went up alongside. We stopped him, and turned out to be an IDEM representative. And he said they're keeping an eye on them as well, because I think they were in arrears as far as their payments to put the mine back. I think there's a $7 million bond to assure that reclamation does take place. So the problem here, however, is that there's no material to fill the hole. So he said, I don't know what happens to all the landowners out here, but somebody is going to be left with a nice swimming area.
The county's deepest lake.
Yeah, and our concern is the proximity to Portersville Road West. If that were allowed to fill up with water, however, full it's going to get before it drains out someplace, that could cause us problems in the future. So, just
I guess the next action is to try to follow through with what Commissioner Brahma said, check the condition of the road and if Mr. Schneider hears something, we will take action as the guidance is provided. Any other suggestions? Okay. I had a question from something, I was going through some old notes. I think maybe a year and a half ago, I brought up some of our sites where we do trash and recycling collection. I brought up, should we consider trying to buy any of those? That was the question. And Mr. Schneider gave me a statute on how that works and things. Is there any interest with us moving forward or any benefit for us to own the Ferdinand site or Hayesville or any of these? Is there any value in moving forward, or should I just get it out of my notes?
I don't know that there would be. I think if, all of the locations were, I guess, a good faith gratuity by the owner in order to help out the county in those locations. If a place happens to maybe not fit, they've grown, they've all grown, and a lot of these places are, could use additional rooms such as what we did down in Ferdinand. But I think if we bought them, we'd have to be sure that we would have to find something big enough to look 20 years ahead and probably project a little bit more growth if that were the case. But I think right now, we're paying, $500 a year on the property, and the landowners are all fine with it. I think it's all said and done. I think it's
I guess my fear is at some point the current son wants to sell it for worth more than $500. We're getting a better deal than what the market would bring probably for an area. The other thing too is us not being able to make like paving them or anything like that. We don't make improvements. So I think those are the two reasons that I was concerned when I brought it up a year ago or whatever it was.
Yeah, we did have that happen about 6 or 7 years ago where a landowner had passed away, but the survivor was fine keeping it there because they felt they were helping out the county. So it's a good thing. I think with any improvements that we do out there, whether it would be on leased property or even our own, if something happened where we decided to change, we'd have to take the improvements off or, get rid of that. I mean, we'd be basically doing the same thing if we had to make a change as well. So,
either of you feel any strongly one way or the other, just let it be out there?
I think it's inexpensive as it is right now, that even if we made the improvements, I think it'd be nice to have pavement at some of these sites. We can always scrape it off if we had to, go elsewhere. Right now, there's really not much benefit in buying them.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I mean, it's working what we're doing now. And,
If rents would increase or something, or somebody, we started getting moved out of spaces, that'd be a different situation.
right.
Okay, I just wanted to bring it up now and get it off of my nose.
okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Highway engineer?
You don't give me one more.
Thank you, Brent.
Okay, 600 West Railroad Crossing. I received the updated plan. Greg has reviewed it. I've reviewed it. The wording is better now that it fits the actual fee associated with it. So I do recommend it for approval. So,
And we're still within the amount of money we have appropriated?
correct. You guys, if you guys approve at today's meeting, I will get a hold of Jason and he can send you guys a DocuSign to still be looking for that and get it signed. So they adjusted the price, the 90% of the federal funds for that, which gives us the IRS, so what it amounts to. So
So is it 315 the total value or is that?
315 is a 90%, so it's the 350, whatever change it was, the original estimate that I gave.
And in reality, we will pay 10% of whatever the actual cost is. This is the estimate.
315 is the 90%.
It's a 90% number,
Okay.
yeah.
So 100% is still not 400.
100% is $350,000, yeah. 350,000 and change, almost 350.
I move that we agree to sign the updated contract pending the review of the county attorney.
He reviewed.
Oh, you did review it, okay. I'll strike that motion. I move that we sign the contract agreement with NDOT for this County Road 600 West Railroad crossing. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
No,
Aye. Motion carries.
Okay, so I will get a hold of NDOT after this meeting. Be looking for that in your emails. I gave you your Gmail, both your county emails. So it'll be there and go through the DocuSign, sign it, and then you have 48 hours. So we're looking for it today or tomorrow to get it done.
so it'll be I'm going to repeat that. It'll be in our email.
It'll go through your email. I think you did a text message alert too. I gave you your cell numbers, huh?
That'd be great.
But you still gotta go here. But you're supposed to get notification through your cell. I can't swear to that.
Will you know when we get it? I mean.
No, I do not. No, once it's gone, once I tell them to send it, I don't get any notification on it. So,
If you guys get it, just shoot me a text.
Okay.
but I know the past time Chad's got it both times, but I don't know about you guys. So, I keep telling him that all three of you need to sign it. So, I'm still waiting on.
And we'll sign it electronically some way, follow the directions.
Just follow the directions. It's fairly simple.
Yeah, and then just send it back.
Yep, and then it's out the door. So, okay, Bridge 14 and 94 redesign. I wanted to bring that up. Gave you guys all the proposals, information, if you guys had a chance to review. I did get a proposal from another firm on Friday. This will make Michael look really good. They submitted it, and it was just for Bridge 14, it was for $164,000 to do the redesign with the breakdown. I have in green is the sjca numbers, the red is their thing, so it was actually 138 apples to apples. And that gives you a breakdown how they compare. So looking at that, sjca has everything that's in that one, is in their proposal, they're comparable. So I do feel pretty comfortable that this is a good one to go with. And I would like to get both of them designed if possible. Bridge 14 is the one I want to do. With Bridge 94, I'm going to probably shelve it for a year and maybe do that in 2023. So we're going to do one a year. We're not going to try to rip out two a year. So that's my goal.
Can conditions not change over the course of a year making the design?
Yeah,
They're not good?
they should.
They shouldn't do that.
Not in a year. Now, if it was 10 or 15, different story, but in a year we should be fine.
Just because I want to learn more about how this process works, why do we have a firm help us with some bridges and without other ones?
Because-
because they don't, these bridges don't seem a lot more, to me, as I know what I'm looking at.
We can only spend $250,000 with our own people. Our bridge group can only build a bridge that's up to $250,000. This Bridge 14, the reason it's going to cost more is because it's next to the Patoka River. So we're going to have to do permitting. We're going to have to do special design to keep the water out of our footers, out of our foundations. My guys don't have that equipment. We'll have to go rent it or go buy it or whatever. That will throw us above our 250 threshold. Instantly, once it's above 250, I have to bid these documents out. I don't have time to create a complete bid document specs and all that stuff with all everything else I got going on. So we need to hire a consultant to do that work. Now, if Bridge 14 was out in the middle of just a normal creek, no big deal, yeah, our guys would do it, no questions asked. But due to the construction constraints, it's going to throw us up over the 250 pretty quick.
So if it's a county creek, we don't have the same environmental.
We do, but the environmental is much easier. If it's on a dry creek, it's just a normal span. I fill out a one-page permit, and away we go. This one, do it with the Patoka, which is a regulated drain, and the one feeding into it There's special things that are gonna have to happen. We try to get as many done in-house as possible, but this is just not one of them. The 94 is the same concept. It's in a creek, or it's in a bend. It's over a floodplain. More things are gonna have to take place.
So even if we were to hire a second engineer, we said, Brent, this second engineer is going to do all the work that you're currently doing. We want you just to do these kind of things. Do you even have the expertise to do everything that's listed and needed on?
I can, but it's more of a staff than it is a one-person show.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what it seemed like. It seemed like they had a number of people in this,
Yeah.
where they broke down the price per hour. That's why I thought you may not have expertise in all those areas.
I can do it all, but I need a team to do it all.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's just lack of resources on mine too.
Just to review what you said here, on the red ink,
That is,
add those two numbers together and compare that to the,
yeah, because this number right here is the stuff that's extra, so it's not needed. We don't have to do the right of way engineering. I can do that.
okay,
We have right of way on both these roads. There's no reason to go out and get more. This number here is, these numbers here are the same as the contracts that I sent you. This is just comparable, so you know how they compare.
okay.
And that 12 or 23 is in this number here. So
I didn't dig through that very much. Did they bid on, or did they give a quote for
94.
just one?
This one.
So for $20,000 more, we would get both, I'm trying to do the math.
Yes, compared to that one, yes.
And is it your goal to get approval today for moving forward with this?
Yes, it is.
Any opposition to that?
No,
Yeah. Good.
Okay, thank you for, who was the company?
Butler, Fairman, Cypher.
So I appreciate you getting another quote, because you never know. I think that it's telling. So I'll move that we approve the design agreement with sjca.
You want for both, or just prefer
For bridge number 14 and 94.
you want a number for that?
Don't want a number.
I mean, a dollar number.
Dollar amount, like 177,660 is what the two numbers are together.
how much?
$177,660.
sjca. In the amount of $177,660. So,
I'll second your motion.
any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye. Motion carries.
Excellent. And like I said, Bridge 14, my goal is to have that constructed in 2022. And 94, we will sit on until 2023. We'll do the design all together, but that's when the construction will start.
Which is which again, 14?
14 is down on Division Road by Stewart.
Yes. Okay, and the other one's over on.
Yep.
Near Huntingburg, near Cherry Street.
Correct.
Unfinished Cherry Street, is that?
Yeah, that is there.
The
Yep.
end of Cherry Street,
Mhm.
north end of Cherry Street.
Unfinished end, I like that. All right, last couple things. Countywide bridge inspection. They are advertised, so you guys may get phone calls from consultants. It is advertised. Should shoot out here this week or next. Just so if you guys get any phone calls from consultants, you know what's going on. Bridge 143, we have a crane coming in on Wednesday to set the beams. And hopefully we can get this project done and gone. Now, even if it's raining too much, as long as it's not physically raining, we can still work. So, the oversized vehicle ordinance, I'm back on that again, sorry. I'd like to get that thing moving. Greg and myself are working on creating an ordinance to clean it up, and the permit will go with the ordinance that we create. So we're working
Because
on that.
the board has all approved it already.
We haven't approved the permit, we approved the process of obtaining it.
Okay.
You guys have gave me the consensus to get it going, but with everything else going on, I put it on the back burner, but now that everything's slowing down, I'm gonna try to get that one done.
Okay.
So, maybe a little bit, good to know. No, I said that, I'll probably regret it. But, yeah, I've got it started, I wrote an ordinance, Greg's marked it up for me, kind of making some legal notes, and then we can go from there.
Anything else for Brent?
Nope.
Thank you.
Okay.
So Sandy, on the claims, we had a claim for $1,590 from Wagner, Irwin and Shield. It's for work on the handbook.
Which we are working on currently.
I guess the money came out of lit. I don't think our board approved that money, so what budget or
Council put it there.
the council can do that?
At budget time, the county council took it out of county general and put it into lit.
Okay, so how much, is there enough appropriated to finish whatever the project is?
Whatever he had in his budget, they moved that out, if he had a contract. So,
I said no if, because the handbook is our responsibility, but we didn't know anything. I knew that he was working on it, just not running into it, but he hasn't discussed it with me. Did he work on the handbook? I don't know about either of you. He's working on redoing it, but I haven't.
Discuss the fact that he's working on it, yes.
Okay.
Has he been here for any approval of sorts? I don't know. I don't recall that he has.
Brooke and Marky and myself have been going
Yes.
chapter by chapter on it, and I think we're up to chapter 5, so.
So I guess we can, on our own, look through it, and we have suggestions, I guess we can. or not
Well, I think what right now, we're going through it and making changes to it, and then he's gonna present that later, I think.
Yeah.
What our plan is.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the work on it, I just wasn't aware.
He did, or you did, or somebody reached out to me and asked if I wanted to sit on the committee because I was on it the last time, and with all of us, the timing wasn't right, so I said, you know, I'm here to consult if you need something, but
All right. Otherwise, were there any questions or concerns with anything in the expense report claims? I move that we approve the claims as presented.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. We have a emergency declaration. It's that time where the former declaration has expired. So I will move that we approve extending the local disaster emergency declaration as of March 1st. And the time that it will run is until April 5th, 2021 at 11:59 p.m. So I move that we approve the extension.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye. A motion carries. We have at 8:35, county annual report. Sandy, is that something you're going to do?
I had originally given you last week a copy of it, but I had to make a correction to it, so the one I gave you last week is no good, so I wrote on here, this one's as submitted. That will be advertised this week. I did provide you guys the whole entire report, which I just need your initials on it, saying you've seen it. And accept the report, this is what's been submitted.
Okay, I do have a couple questions on it. Why do we have the fund for the Du Bois Road Park?
Because we're holding for it. We've held that for years.
Is there any way we
They
can give
can't-
them their money back and be done with it?
I don't think we can, because I think they had to have a county agency sponsor them or hold the money for them. We do that for there's a hazmat on there as well.
Yeah, I think it's like $40, isn't it? I mean, it's like almost no money, so.
They have to do something with it or request it or something, it's their money.
But it's no hassle for you, really?
It just sits in our fund.
And what is the 4907 public road fund? Is that
That's
something?
where we hold money in the, I think which one it is.
Distress road fund?
No, it's not distress road, we hold public road money, it's the bond money for, it's up by Holland or something up in there.
Kentucky Street? Oh, no.
No, we hold money in,
There's still some money remaining from the
It's like a road
old
bond.
sewer mine. That, yeah, we'll probably be liquidating that and doing some paving down in
It's $15,233, and I thought, why, I don't know, it just seemed odd, it was out of place.
Yeah.
So that's something you can use up, and we can be.
No, it has to be for that specific
Right.
work.
Yes, it will, and it will, yeah. We've got a couple we're looking at down there that will qualify for that, so.
And then the CASA grant and the sjca victim assistance grant that are both have negative balances, what's that?
They are reimbursement grants, so we have to pay for their stuff and then they get the money back, and it's usually always negative on this report.
But
These
we
are
can't-
federal,
But
they're
we can't give
federal,
out negative dollars, so we have to take the money from the
well,
general
it comes
fund.
out of
and
our
just-
bank account.
Right.
A lot of our funds do that.
Okay, and then it'll get paid back to zero at some point.
Mhm.
Okay, those are all the questions I had. Anybody else have any questions on? Okay, I move that we accept the county annual report.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. That motion carries. And then we have a couple minutes until the next item, which would be the Purdue extension update, so we'll do that in just a moment. Anybody need a break before we move on?
We good.
All right, as a reminder, the signatures, we were hoping to get those in today, the petition of the taxpayers for the entering into negotiations of a nonprofit building corporation with the county. I'm gonna turn mine in today after the meeting. I think Mike Cleaser turned in some, but I don't know if anyone else has, so please
Sheriff
turn.
has,
How many did the sheriff turn in?
I don't know the number off the head.
Try to turn some of those in.
I have 10 of them here, I don't know, that's all I've been able to get at this point, not getting out too much.
Are you able to go over to the auditor and get a notarized and things after the meeting?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe you and I'll do that, and if, Nick, if you have any,
I don't have enough yet. I have like 3 right now.
so we can go over and see where we stand.
Yeah.
Because I know Mike got a few more that he needed to, so. Yep.
I think Mike had 26 because we had to add one on because he didn't sign his, and you have to have your name on it.
Mhm.
I think Mike had to do that. But I haven't reviewed any of
If we
them.
need some, I'm sure, I just have to get around family, because I haven't had a chance to get out and do it.
Yeah, we'll check today and maybe.
But I don't think it's my place to tell you how many or what all. I think I just have to collect them, correct?
I think we're on a good track.
We need 50, and as long as we have enough extra to, a cushion to,
To cover any that could strike it, yes.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, let's go ahead and do the Purdue extension update, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I just wanted to have a chance to introduce you to Chelsea Brewer. She's our new HHS educator, Health and Human Sciences. She's been with us for a few months now, so I let her kind of get her wits about her and learn the ropes. And so now's her chance to introduce herself to you guys, and then we'll go later to county council later this month. So.
That was Dan Dugan's old position?
Yes,
Correct.
exactly, yeah. So like Lisa said, my name's Chelsea Brewer, born and raised in Du Bois County, Jasper, Indiana. Went to Purdue, boiler up, now I'm back. Studied health and disease in college at Purdue, and then I have a master's in public health with a focus in health education and promotion. Done a little bit of study on wellness and yoga and movement and that social emotional learning that we know is so important to kids right now. I'm certified in trauma-informed care, so trying to see if I can help out the schools right now and see what we can do in that aspect, and then we'll move to the larger community. So it's very nice to meet you. If you ever have suggestions or you see any kind of potholes in the health education of the county, please feel free to reach out. My email is cebrewer@purdue.edu.
So what's your full title? Health educator and what's your title?
Are you asking what she does?
You know what's your title? first?
Health and Human Sciences Educator.
Health and Human Sciences,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
And then, can you tell me more about being certified in trauma-informed care, what that means?
Yeah, so I did a 95-hour certification through yoga program. So approaching the trauma-informed, which if you haven't heard that, trauma-informed is basically looking at every child as if they've had a trauma in their life and trying to mitigate any triggers that might come about, because you never know who or what can traumatize somebody. A normal stressor to Lisa and I might be really, really impactful to a child. So even saying something like, sit in your seat and relax, close your eyes, those could be a trigger. So learning to use open-ended language. I invite you to sit down if you're comfortable. I'm going to turn the lights off. If you want to close your eyes, you can, or you can just gaze at the floor. So it's more about reframing how we teach and what language we use.
So you're saying yoga, though, can you expand on that?
Yeah, so I got it through yoga is how I did a children's certification. So that's kind of how I was trained in it, but during the training, it encompasses all education.
So you would go in and talk to an educator and say, here are some ways that you may be able to improve the way that you present the information to children?
So the certification would be more towards my teaching. And
Okay,
how
so
I would
yourself.
present it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the school system has their own certification that I'm sure they do with their teachers.
That she may be partnering like with the 4-H program or working through Purdue Extension, doing programs at the libraries or even with the schools, anywhere where children may be available to participate in programs. Or other agencies that may need trauma-informed care in a different way than we currently provide it in our county.
So a lot of your social service agencies are informed about this new approach to teaching, and that's something they look for.
So when did you start with the county? And with the
November,
service?
yes.
November?
Yes. Previously, I worked for Purdue Extension up in Greene County
Okay.
as their community wellness coordinator. So then I made the transition back home in November.
Okay. Well, welcome
Thank you.
to Du Bois County and back to Du Bois County.
Yeah,
And,
always lived here, just muted. So
Oh, okay.
I'm happy to be working back in my lovely county.
Sure, and look forward to hearing more about it as time goes along and what the results are.
Thank you very much.
And Janet was a bit of a force. I mean, she was around for a long time, did a lot of great things, so.
Yes.
Chelsea has made some great strides in the little bit that she's been here, so look for big things.
Great,
Pressure's
thank
on.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
On our bid opening meeting on March 22nd, I had a concern that this room wouldn't be appropriate for opening bids in case there's too many people that were to come in. And I mentioned, I think my concern, right, I think this was Brent's answer here was, I think it's a wise way to proceed, that maybe we have someone at the door and we ask contractors, only let one contractor, one representative from each person submitting a bid if there are a lot of people that show up. Just to keep the size of the meeting to a normal, something reasonable based on the pandemic. And then other people, we can give the YouTube address and give them our account name, and if they wanted to, they can sit in the meeting room downstairs and watch it live as it happens too. So we want everybody to be able to participate in watching it, I suppose, if they want. But I think that's probably the best way to proceed. My initial thought was, should we move it to Cabby O'Neill or move it over to City Hall or something, but by the time that I had that thought, it was, he had already had it advertised, so I don't want to re-advertise and change the location, just maybe improve upon the location that we have. Any issues with that?
No, I don't, especially since it's been advertised. I was gonna suggest the Clover Pavilion as an alternate site, but that would have to change the advertising.
It ran Wednesday of last week and will run again 2 days from this Wednesday.
So one of our members from the building corporation actually brought it up to me, and then by the time I got it to the other guys, it was.
That makes sense. I think it's a fair way to handle it.
Because really, we're not taking any questions, we're not doing anything other than opening bids and taking them under advisement, like we do with some of the bids we get for highway projects. So,
And we'll broadcast that, by,
the same way we're doing today's meeting.
okay,
So Brent is, I believe, going to be out of town that week,
I'm gonna be out of town
so
that week.
I'm sure Brent,
But
on his
we're not
vacation, and you two you probably want to watch, because it's that
Yes.
exciting. Brent will be on his phone watching, but no, I think,
Sandy's gonna be the one here trying to get it going, so.
Okay.
He's
Yeah,
still
I mean,
gone.
I mean, I'm not helping Sandy, but.
We're not taking any action at that meeting, we're just,
if I understand, Greg, all we really are gonna have to do, open it up, say the bid amount, looks like it's in order.
It's comparable to what we do when the highway does their annuals. You know, they'll be opened up, they'll make sure everything's in check, affidavits, non-collusions, things of that nature. And there's gonna be some dense information in there that needs to be taken under advisement and come back with a recommendation. And, break out of, the cost analysis for each bidder. So they'll be open, they'll be taken under advisement.
but a number will be shared that day like we do at the highway, and then taken under advisement, or?
I believe that's what
I
we're.
believe that's the case.
Get a number that we'd allow.
Okay.
Who the bidders were, things of that nature.
I'll be the only one here.
You'll be the only one here. You can handle
Will either of you be available?
I'll be available online.
You'll be online, so we need to have at least 2 of us available.
it. Thank you.
We do have to,
It's a meeting.
It's advertised as a public meeting.
okay.
So, and I may be able to do that.
Okay, if you do that, is YouTube a viable resource? They can call in.
I believe we have I mean, I don't know that.
I'm asking, because if we need to set up Zoom or something different, that'd be a different story, but if that,
I believe they can do it by phone.
okay.
We've done it before. If
That'd
not, if we need to do something different, then we can get cracking on that too.
So if any of the contractors have questions, they can be, answered subsequent to that meeting.
So we'll open the phone line and I'll try to get that thing working.
If
So
it's
this
just
is
phone,
YouTube this morning?
this is YouTube. If it is, what I'm saying is if YouTube is viable and they're allowed to call in, then that's gonna be easy setup. If it's Zoom, then that's gonna be different, then we'll have to get with that. That just depends on what happens. If Greg says YouTube and phone, we're good, then that'll be easy.
As far as the public, we're going to allow the public here, so it's not a closed meeting in any
Correct.
sense. So
Correct.
I think we're fine on that.
It's their
As far as
participation.
getting one of these two in, I think any method that they can actively participate at this point is going to be allowed.
I agree.
If
I
you
agree.
can't make it, I'll make it a point to.
Well, and I think I can, it's an evening.
6 o'clock on that day, I believe.
6
minute.
o'clock.
6 p.m. on Monday.
22nd.
6 p.m.
So if nothing else, if we don't, I'll call one of you and put you on speakerphone and we'll do it that way.
I'll make it back in time on this meeting.
That make it easier. Okay, so we've got that coming up. So in this situation, we've had some emails going back and forth, and I believe Human Resources has been working on it, but this COVID pay for a couple of employees who are putting in excess hours, is that something we are prepared to start having a conversation on here at this meeting, or should we hold off maybe another 2 weeks until Human Resources has had a chance to to look at their options, pardon me?
I think he's waiting on them, the employees, what their expectation is.
Well, I don't know that that's important.
That was the last conversation, I don't know about expectations, that was the last conversation that I had with Marky, I believe, that he was waiting on them to develop a proposal.
The time sheets and whatnot that kind of outline the extent of the excessive work.
Well, they provided those.
I've seen those, yes,
Okay,
for both of them.
so there was more to it than that.
Well, there are various options that we could follow, pay them straight out, time and a half,
That's how
a
these,
stipend.
See, and in my thinking of it, I don't necessarily need it to come from the employee. I think that might be backwards. The county has to know what we are comfortable with doing. And the numbers that have been presented so far, I'm not comfortable with anything anywhere near there myself. Which, I mean, that's a conversation, we'd have to make that decision, because we have no obligation to pay them anything.
Right.
But I believe the right thing to do is to recognize that work in some way because it's so excessive and it's so important right now. So we just have to find out what that looks like.
And we may, I think we may end up changing the policy on that, so that in the future, when something like this happens, we already have a policy in place. Whatever that might be, and that would, if we change the policy, that could involve the other exempt employees as well.
I guess my first thought is, well, do we need a policy for something that
We never had.
happens once a century?
I don't know.
But doesn't hurt to look at it and see if we can make improvements. Okay, so probably the short answer is right now may not be, we need to have them involved, so maybe get it on the agenda for a future meeting and just like keep it on top of mind.
I think his goal was next meeting.
What he told me.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. Sounds good.
Because I still have a sticky, I keep moving.
Trash report will begin in about 3 minutes. Greg, do you have anything to share with us? It'll take about 3 minutes.
the ordinance code that has been sent off for its final edit, we confirmed that after the council meeting last week. I've been approached again by the firefighters. I think they wanted to bring back up what we discussed roughly 1 year ago. They sent me that ordinance for the countywide fire ordinance in ways that we can potentially pare that down. As my understanding, they were gonna get, I think, Commissioner Blessinger, you had a couple of questions or clarifications, but they were gonna get those to me anyways.
So they may have an
We
additional.
might be back at the starting line again, I'm not sure. They sent that to me last Friday, and I'll be in touch with them, and if there's something that develops further, that will certainly be in moved.
But your first comment of the ordinance, that was about the American Legal?
Yes,
Okay, so you're saying that that is your final edit, you got it back to them,
it's back to them, yes.
and then,
Then I jumped to topic number 2.
Yeah. okay. So we may
And
not
now,
fire thing.
and now I'm knowing that topic.
Okay, what's topic number 3?
I don't know that I have one.
Okay.
I kind of just pulled those people about, so I never know when you're gonna call.
I like filling every moment we have and keeping.
I was concerned when you were asking about the yoga, that, like, I was gonna take a break and let anything go.
Well,
And we would have lost a lot of YouTube subscribers.
I was confused of where that was going and how you implemented yoga. I have a lot to learn.
Sorry.
A lot of areas. And we're not gonna start yoga at the commissioners meeting.
Very good.
Okay, so we call the commissioners meeting into recess. We will open the trash court. And we will have Carlos Winter and Randy Bame present the trash court case that they have today.
Do you want us to come on up, Greg?
Yeah, go ahead up to the podium, it'd be great. First thing,
These for the professor.
Mr. Swanton,
That's just our file.
okay. Making sure you are in attendance for the record here, thank you.
That's like the sheriff
Do you
knows.
need to
that
go
I'm-
over anything on what trash court is for Mr. Slaughton or? Okay, all right. I'm Carla Striegel Winter, DuBois County Solid Waste District Director.
Randy Bain, code enforcement.
We have a case this morning. I do have some packets to hand out regarding that case, so if you would just go. I'll kind of go over it, so we start through it first.
Thank you.
Let's see here. Steve, I have one for you. Okay. All right. Basically, on the very first page of that is the report to the commissioner. So I just want to briefly go over what is in the attached that has all the staples attached to it. First is the complaint to the commissioners. On that second page is the notice of ordinance violation that was sent to Mr. Slaughton. I'm sorry, is it Slaughton? Slaughton on August 24th. That's 2 pages. Then the next is Mr. Slaughton's signature on 9/5/20 that he did indeed receive the certified mail that was sent on August 24th. Then we have photos from the sheriff's department taken in May of 2020. And we have photos taken October 6th, which we had given Mr. Slaughton a date of October 2nd to contact us. And he had not contacted us. And on October 6th, we still saw the same types of things going on at the property. After that, you have just the parcel information. And then the very final last page of that packet is the serve and return. When Mr. Slaughton was sent a letter to appear, he did not sign for that letter, so we are then required to have the sheriff's department do a serve and return. So they delivered a copy at his dwelling, which allows us to have the trash court today. So if you look at the actual complaint, the case came in June with a complaint from the sheriff's department, which was through a resident. And we did send a certified letter at that time, but we didn't have the appropriate complaint form signed appropriately. So we sent a certified letter again on 8/24. So this is the one that we're going by. On 8/24, we had not heard from Mr. Slaughton at all during any of this time. And he was to contact us with his plan by 10/2. He did sign for the letter. He has never contacted us. And Randy has done multiple property checks. His property is in non-compliance. And we've since received another signed complaint from a resident. And due to Mr. Slaughton's inaction, that's why we're requesting this trash court date. So as you look at the pictures, Mr. Slaughton's property is not that bad. Just quick contact with us and working with us could have easily taken care of the issue. All right. So we do have several things going on there. We've got weeds. We've got at least one vehicle that is probably not registered, but we have no idea because we've not been able to talk with Mr. Slaughton at all about that.
Which vehicle is that?
The RV.
The
That
pool
is-
behind?
I'm sorry.
The pool behind?
Yes. Yeah. So that's been sitting there at least since May. We didn't put the picture in here, but it had a flat tire on it. We believe that it is probably not registered. It's also basically on the road, which is kind of a different issue. It has nothing to do with the with our ordinance here.
but is even a separate issue. So that is mainly the issue there. I don't think there are any other vehicles on the property. No. So, and then just, there's nothing wrong with storing construction supplies, but there are tall weeds and there are kind of junky looking things stored kind of around the exterior of the house. So what really we want you to look at is the fact that we've had no contact whatsoever, and not at what the property situation looks like, because we really need the public and the people to recognize that dealing with us initially is a lot better than coming here and dealing with you guys. So what we would ask is that we have resources just in hours, that doesn't include mileage, to go up and do checks. We have at least $402.63 in on the investigation and the follow-up and that sort of stuff. That doesn't include the time the sheriff's department has spent or any other time that any of the other offices have spent. So we would like to see some kind of a fine to cover at least those. And then the other thing that we would like to see is authorizing the removal of the non-compliant items and invoicing the landowner for removal of those items.
Can you specifically tell me what items you would like consent to remove?
So the way that I see the wording is to give Mr. Slotin a date to provide a current valid registration or move to a non-visible location, the RV pull behind. If not by that date, it would be towed at the owner's expense. So that would be the one item. And then that the weeds be removed either by a contractor or by the county. I'm not really sure how you guys would want to go forward with that. And some of the items setting around, we have no issue with construction items setting there if they're piled neatly. But Randy has been up there a few times, and you want to mention some of the different things you've seen, because I know the pictures don't show
Well,
everything.
it's just a vast array assortment of just accumulation. You know, the front, it does vary in the construction material, so it comes and goes. Around the back side of the house, which that doesn't really depict it in here, there's just all kinds of assortment, just loose items, just scrap, bag, loose fill, it's just a hodgepodge of everything. And the problem that we have with it is that the weeds then start taking over once spring and summer come. It just takes over and it's not maintained. The vehicle itself, one of the photos, it's not really super clear, but the fifth wheel camper, the plate that's on it is from 1989, if memory serves me correctly. It's from several years ago, so it's definitely not current registration on the photo on the camper. So according to the ordinances, it has to be a registered vehicle. And we've had similar situations with campers and motorhomes, that aren't registered within public view, have to be registered. And this here is extremely close to the side of the road.
So, like I said, I have no problem with Mr. Slotin being able to take care of the issue himself, but I think if you're going to consider doing something like allowing him to take care of the issue himself, to give a very limited time to do that before the county, to just say, you need to do this by this day, or we're ready to move in like right now. So go ahead and start prepping with that is what my recommendation would be, since we just had no contact from him at all.
You say the vehicle, the camper pull behind is certainly on right of way. Is is it creating a safety hazard beyond just encroaching on the right of way?
So
I
the
feel like-
ordinance has nothing to do with the road right of way, so that would be more of a question for Steve, if you're getting into right of way. So the ordinance really has to do with, stating that an unregistered, unoperable vehicle cannot be, sitting, basically in an abandoned state, visible from the road or the neighbor's property. Yes, in my opinion, it probably, it is right on the road, but that doesn't have to do with this ordinance. That has to do more with and I don't know much
We would
about.
have to check the platted streets in Du Bois. I think most of those are in the neighborhood of 40 feet. I think they vary as well, but if 40 feet is the case, I'm sure it's there or awfully close. I was also looking at the vicinity of the location to the intersection. It's close to the intersection. I think people can see, but it could obstruct a view there. So I
And
think that's an issue there as well.
this property was located directly across from the fire station?
Across from the post office, actually.
Post office, okay. All right.
Yeah, the corner,
Fire station's another block of it.
yeah, right, another half block up.
All right, yeah, I see it now. Yeah. Okay.
At this time, with being the time of year, is there any current violation in regards to weeds, height of weeds?
So the photos that were taken on October 6th, those are the ones that we are going by because Mr. Slotin was to contact us by October 2. So that was the last sort of official time that we put into this. Randy did run up there over the weekend, just informally as well.
But the weeds are a major issue today.
Well, the weeds are in the dormant stage right now, so that's that question.
But I'm saying there's not brush overgrowth.
No, they're in a dormant stage. They'd be in a dormant stage currently.
Commissioner Brahmas, Hostetter? Any other questions or for solid waste or code enforcement?
I don't think at this time, maybe when we get prepared to make a ruling, we may have some questions, additional questions.
Commissioner Hostetter, anything?
Yeah, I don't have a question currently.
Okay, thank you. We will ask, is Mr. Slotin in the meeting? Would you like to make a comment or present your side?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I first do want to apologize that it has come to this and that my inactivity of contacting the proper authorities, I did not do, and I do take blame for that. The current situation with the property, I do have an RV that is on the property that is from, last registration was 2018. I don't know if the sticker has fallen off, but that either way, I would concur that it definitely, I can put it on my property. I have, since the date of October, put in a new driveway along the side of my house that I'm going to have fenced in, solid fencing, not see-through. At which time I can go ahead and finish off what I need to do with my RV, which is giving it basically a proper paint job and making it presentable anyways and getting it registered. And I could enact that pretty much immediately within the next week and get that taken care of. Along with the weeds have been eradicated. They have been taken down along with putting in the new driveway and front, put in 20,000 tons of gravel. So everything is much cleaner in the front and on the sides. I do have pictures of that as well. I do understand having individuals come up and check on the property, to actually pursue this and have it eradicated, I could understand that there was probably charges incurred in that. So I would be willing to pay what is feasible and what actually is needed, so. And then, same thing with construction. I am currently working on the house. I have different debris here and there, but at the same time, I think all that could be easily confined behind the fencing that will be not present to, the community, so.
So where the fifth wheel sits now, is that what they're called? Is that the right term?
Yeah.
Okay. Where it sits currently, are you wanting to put a fence in that same location?
No, it'll actually be pulled back around. I put in a new drive behind the building. You'll see that there's,
In this area?
this is the first that I've seen pictures within our, it would be where, if you look on the, I think it's second to last page, there is a trailer sitting there currently. And then there's a brush that's on the corner of the building. That, there's a driveway actually back behind here now.
Over this way?
Yes, correct.
I guess what my concern was, you weren't gonna put a fence right along the road because that
No,
would possibly be a
correct.
right of way issue again.
Yes, certainly.
But somewhere on that side, it will be, I mean, so that'll be a pretty tall fence.
Well, I mean, the vehicle doesn't need to be completely covered, correct?
Are you talking like an 8-foot fence? Is that what you're looking at, something
A
like that?
six, probably it'll end up being about a 7-foot fence, privacy fence.
And you're saying you have plans to do construction for that immediately?
Yes, I can get that, implemented this upcoming week to where, start the fencing project and getting that, as long as weather cooperating, obviously.
The driveway is already in.
The driveway is already in, yes, it is,
Gravel
gravel
or-
driveway.
Gravel.
So. And then I can also get the vehicle registered immediately as well.
So we're looking at this picture here with this trailer loaded with,
That is no longer sitting, yeah, that is no longer there.
but that's where the
That's-
driveway is.
Yes.
That's where the driveway
Correct.
is along that side of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna fence that in, you're gonna pull the trailer onto that driveway or into that driveway. And then
Yes,
put a fence around it. So basically the driveway is specifically for
correct,
the camper,
yes.
fifth wheel.
Greg, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So will the fence be, the proposed fence, will that, be for construction materials as well, so that will not be visible from, the roadway or the neighbor's residence?
Yes, correct.
The other vehicles in these pictures, I see a blue truck, a white.
Yes, the blue truck is, yes, my work truck.
Okay, a white sedan and a dark sedan.
The dark sedan was originally what I thought was being referred to, because originally I did not receive any pictures of what they were looking at. I did, however, receive a statement that there was construction debris, the weeds, obviously I knew of those, and then the abandoned vehicle or junk vehicle, and at the time that that vehicle was not in operation, and I did get rid of that vehicle.
It's gone completely.
It is gone. And that's what I originally thought was considered the abandoned vehicle or junk vehicle.
I'd like to make a comment if I could. It appears as though that there's a pattern going on here, because I remember going out with Sean to look at another property that Mr. Slotin owns on Main Street. Pretty much the same thing with weeds and debris, and I guess that's in the middle of a construction.
Correct. We did excavation on the project. Yeah.
Okay, I think there were some issues with the building as well.
Originally, yes, there was a roofing issue,
Yes,
and correct.
so
We had to put on a new roof.
I just see a pattern.
Mr. Schneider, how much time have you spent on this issue?
I'd say a minimum of an hour, no more than 2.
So it sounds like Mr. Slotin is saying that he is willing to register the vehicle. He's willing to put up a fence in which to come into line with the purpose of the code of the ordinance, in which he will put the building materials and the fifth wheel. He said he's willing to pay for the resources that were expended for this operation. The weeds are at this time managed, and hopefully will continue to be managed going forward. So it looks like we have a path forward, possibly, if we get follow through. Comments from the other commissioners?
My suggestion was, because he was willing to pay the costs, I believe that would be incurred. I would ask to get the vehicle registered. And I don't believe Mr. Schneider's, our attorney's fees were on here. I think the attorney fees should be added as well for any time he spent.
Commissioner Brown?
Yeah, the registration of the vehicle, I guess let's start with, you're gonna put the vehicle behind the fence, but the fence is not gonna be tall enough to completely hide the vehicle. If it's a registered vehicle, I don't know that that's a problem.
It's not.
If it's an abandoned vehicle, unregistered abandoned vehicle, maybe we still have a problem. So it kind of hinges on both of those things. Getting it off the street and getting it registered, recovering the status of being an abandoned vehicle. I don't know if there's anything else that we need to insist upon removing, whether it's old construction materials or salvage in any way. As Carla pointed out, the main issue here is lack of cooperation or follow-up on the things, and that's where the fine will likely come in at, because we need to recover our costs, including our attorney's fees on this. Is this your residence?
Yes.
Okay. So,
And to the point that Mr. Berg made, the Main Street property also does have a trailer that's sitting on the road, may even hang over the deckable asphalt a little bit, and that building there's parts of it that look really rough. The point of this ordinance is to maintain health and safety, and then just being a good neighbor as well. So the goal is clean it up so it looks a little better, that it's healthy and it's safe. I drove by the Main Street property recently, and it's on the road. Maybe it's only an inch on the road, but that's, it's not allowable. It's not safe. It's not in the best interest of the county as a whole. So please, today we are only discussing the property, your home, but the other one could very well have been here today as well. So please try to manage and maintain both of those properties. I would, my recommendation for this would be to assess a, Mr. Schneider, would it be considered a fine or a penalty, a recovering, what's the correct terminology?
It can be a fine.
I'd recommend a total of a $500 fine be assessed
And to be entered as a judgment.
and entered as a judgment against Mr. Sloden to cover the time of the Solid Waste Management District and the county attorney, and also to help with them moving forward. That would be my recommendation. And also that the order be that the vehicle is registered and the fence is put up. We can come back in a period of 1 month. The first meeting of the county commissioners in April to hear from the ordinance enforcement person to make sure that you're now in compliance. And if you are, then we'll say thank you and we'll move forward. That's what I would recommend. Commissioner Hofstadter, what would you say?
I probably would have made the fine a little higher, but I believe $500 is fine. I agree the vehicle needs to be registered and the fence needs to be built.
Are there any other concerns, I'm gonna ask Carla and Randy, any other concerns about any trash or rubbish that needs to be removed?
Is the fence gonna cover the entire property? Is this just a one, like, what is this fence? Is it gonna surround the property or?
It'll actually be on considered the south side of the house, which will basically be roughly about 1,500 square feet. That will basically wrap 1,500 square feet within it.
Okay, so it doesn't surround the property, but it is a box. It's not just.
Correct.
Okay,
Fence with gate, yes.
okay.
Roughly from the front corner of the house, across the driveway, back to the back corner of the house,
Correct.
roughly that
Yes.
area.
And I would say the reason I don't want to assess a penalty that's any higher than this is I do want to encourage people to fix up properties in the county that need the work. This is your home, but that you can't do it overnight. I want to work in the favor of the citizen every chance I can. And in good faith, I'm hearing that you're going to put all your construction materials back there. It's not going to be a problem any further. And that's why I didn't want to go any further than the amount that I did. Commissioner Bramas, what do you think on an amount?
I think I agree with Nick that maybe it ought to be a little higher than that, maybe another $100, because I'm not sure if we already have $402 in what you itemized. We add an hour or two of work from the attorney, plus additional hours of making sure that the comment that has been complied with, we're not, $500, I don't think would recover all of our costs.
You think 600 is a reasonable amount?
I think so.
Okay, and I think I could get with 600. I would mention too, the fence. If you clean up all the construction debris and everything, you don't need the fence. So if it's cleaned up, no fence necessary. It could save you some expenses. But if you're gonna continue to have the debris and stuff back there, you're gonna have to wrap that around so that your neighbors don't have to look at it.
Anything further from solid waste?
I didn't know if you, would like to have Mr. Slotin come to that meeting to show what he's completed, which gives him the responsibility of taking care of it instead of us putting more time into it and then realizing that it hasn't been completed. If that is, if he could get a report or have a report prepared for that date, that would be my suggestion.
Mr. Boehm, anything from you?
One thing I would recommend is that we do get this final determination that the copy of the registration, the current registration is included with the packet. Because once he backs it into that fence, or that parking area, technically speaking, we never really been able to access the properties. So I'd have to go around the backside of that property somehow to try to photograph the plate. And then we have to run the plate to make sure it's properly registered to that particular vehicle. So if he has registration and brings it in or provides it to us somehow, then we would have that registration attached to that particular vehicle.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from you, Mr. Lopez?
No.
Okay, so, let's see here. So after hearing everything you've heard today, your plan would still be to put a fence up?
I mean,
So I don't want to order you to do something that you may have changed your mind during the last half hour.
correct. I mean, if I could do so, with just getting it registered in the driveway and put it in the driveway, showing that I have it registered, at least, because within 30 days to have the fence up. And I will have all the construction debris removed at that point. If I do not go with the fence, I would have all the construction debris removed.
So is the construction material stuff that you no longer need for?
No, it's still being currently used.
So where would you go with it?
There's areas within my property that are not visible, I can put
You're
it
not gonna
in
get rid of it, you're
building,
gonna move it.
correct.
I'll take any suggestions here.
I suggest a $600 fine, vehicle registration with proof, and either the fence built or the debris cleared.
And I think it's a reasonable expectation to have you come back in and verify that.
Okay, I'll move that we enter a $600 fine and enter it as a judgment, get a copy of the registration from Mr. Slotin at the first meeting of the county commissioners in April. That would be the first Monday in April, and we'll do that at 9 o'clock. Is that, I think that'll work for
Need
that.
a date that he needs to have the fine paid on.
And we would like the fine paid by that time as well.
Well, that would be ideal. I don't.
Then everything is done and we can be finished with it. So that's the action that I would take there. $600, remedy the situation on the property with either proper storage of the materials or a fence to hide the same.
And registration of the vehicle.
And proof of registration of the vehicle at 9 o'clock at the meeting that was mentioned.
I will second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries. So thank you, we'll see you in about a month.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so, Steve, if you guys are in that area, again, if you're going to check where he currently has this in the road, if you're up there for some reason, the Main Street property, the building materials that are on the trailer in these older photos has now been moved down there, and that's the one I was mentioning to him. Now the problem is just on a different road, so. And so what would happen in that case if it is in the road? You just knock on the door generally, you try to informally take care of it. If it doesn't get moved, then what's the next step for a violation of this way?
I never had to worry about it. Well, I mean, if he's got so much time to get it moved, otherwise, we would move it for him. The likelihood of him paying for that cost, who knows? Like I said before, that we've had to deal with him before on another property. It just, again, it's a common sense thing. If you can't take care of a property you already own, but it's none of my business.
Yeah, right. We're not here to talk about that. I'm just saying this one particular case, if somebody was to park their vehicle on Main Street or any street, and they have their tire parked in the road, what would we do to get it off the road? It can't be there, of course. We would not informally try to make an adjustment. If it doesn't, then I guess in that case, we would remove it ourselves.
Yeah, I think, the first thing we'd want to be sure of is that, if in fact it is causing or could be a traffic hazard, obviously it has to be moved, so.
Can you do that without a judgment from us? Can you remove?
I don't know. We have to contact sheriff's department.
I was gonna say, I think that falls into the sheriff's department, and the sheriff's department can do that. And I think they can just have it towed the way they would normally tow, impound vehicle.
Yes, because it's actually on the road. So like you go down that street, if you're not hanging over to the left-hand side, for some reason you're hugging the curb side, you hit the trailer.
Yeah.
Without any doubt, you hit the trailer.
Yeah, and that's.
So it's, you actually be sitting in the right of the roadway. And so theoretically speaking, it'd be tagged just like you do an abandoned vehicle alongside the road, with orange stickers. Or you have so much time, I believe, to move it, and if it's not moved, then the sheriff's department would impound it.
See, that was a little bit my concern here with this property and where that camper was setting. The fire department, fire truck comes out of there and comes down and makes a left turn. It's right in the way.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could.
So.
There's also an obstruction we come up with towards the fire station and post office, like, you have to pull up and lean out or see that. And it's not.
Sounds like a piece of moving that stuff.
Not worried about it.
Last time I went by there,
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, junk stuff, get it around down this week there, where you get it out.
This is what it looks like.
that's actually cleaner than the last time I drove by it.
To see where it's at.
Where's the stuff?
Steve, would you mind coming up here, please?
Yeah, that's actually on.
It's, Sandy, to answer your question, it's,
This is the
53,
one from yesterday, where it's,
no, it's 5404 East Walnut
That would
Street.
be a problem.
yeah, so it's actually just
5404
touching the
East
road.
Walnut Street in Du Bois.
That would impede normal traffic.
Now, this says his
If it was
residence is
in a-
Main Street.
Yeah,
If
I
it
know,
was in a,
his taxes go to the Main Street residents, so I,
bigger city.
It's not bigger than my house.
One person on that road.
Do what?
So the property in question is this address here you just gave me.
Yeah.
Case and liability.
404, or 5404
What's the back of that? Same buildings. that you're-
East Walnut Street.
See, that's where-
In that case, it would impede the normal flow of traffic.
Right, so whatever if we can do something there, maybe if we have to send a
Charlotte,
sheriff,
Randy,
we have
you
to
guys want this?
verify that it's still there.
Well, we've got the
If we take
handout,
care of
I don't
that,
know what this,
that'd be good.
do we keep that?
what is it?
That's in your file.
Oh, that's Sandy's file, yeah, that's not us, that's not us. That's-
Excuse me. Okay, we will
Once it
close,
goes to trash court.
we will close the trash court. It's not past 9:30, we have a COVID-19 remembrance. Chris Walt. Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for your patience with us here.
Morning, Chris. Morning.
I've not done this before, so bear with me. So I had a proposal that, the summary of the proposal is to create a countywide memorial or event to commemorate those who've lost their lives to COVID-19 and as a healing place for those grieving families left behind that were denied proper closure. And to also honor the men and women as caregivers and frontline workers that during the pandemic. So the specifics of the proposal is to, I see forming a small committee of volunteers to, throughout the county, around 6 to 8 people or so, to brainstorm on what type of memorial would be best fitting for the pandemic in this county. The committee would consider a range of options from a simple event, maybe held at the courthouse, to a more permanent memorial or mural on a building, for example. A simple event might be with speakers such as doctors, nurses, EMTs, ministers, long-term caregivers, funeral directors, all types of frontline workers that were impacted by the people dying, and for those that survived COVID-19. They could talk about their experiences and offer up prayers and whatnot. Other options would be a more permanent plaque or marker, or maybe even a mural commemorating the pandemic and its toll on the county, which will likely be still going on late into this year. Names of the deceased or families would not be mentioned for privacy reasons, but of course, we could have family members speak if they wish to do so. The event could be held on a public holiday such as Memorial Day or Independence Day, but that's not necessary. Local and state politicians could also speak about the responses to the pandemic and the impact on the people and the economy in this area. Examples of a permanent memorial might be as little as a plaque on the courthouse or whatever public building, to a bench maybe, or even a small statue or mural of the healthcare worker wearing a mask. For example, see page 2, there's some examples that I was able to glean off the internet of some other countries and places that have done some memorials already. So for the fundraising for this, fundraising methods can also be considered by the brainstorming and by the committee. Funding can be obtained by canvassing local chapters of organizations such as Lions Club, Optimist Club, JC's, and various others. We would also accept contributions in memorial to the loved ones, ones lost as well. We would also need to consider the long-term upkeep if it has a permanent memorial. And then approval of this, after the committee is formed and has met to brainstorm on a few ideas, periodically we return to this county commissioners to provide an update on the ideas that are being converged on and get feedback regarding the suitability of the proposals and make any recommended changes. A final idea will be submitted to the county commissioners to approve, along with a recommendation on how to implement it. So that's the proposal. Any questions?
First off, I appreciate the time you put into this and being here today. It's informative, and you have my support to start a committee. I think it's the best way to move forward. Get a group of like-minded people that want to do something about this and find the best solution. Because I don't know what that best solution, or not solution, but the best response, I guess, would be, I do like some of your ideas. I'd put it to a committee and see what it looks like.
I would agree. I think it's a great idea. I appreciate you taking the time to put into it and get this thing started. I kind of look forward to see what you guys come up with.
Okay.
Yeah, and when Chris first contacted me about this and we talked about it a little bit, my suggestion was that he come here and make this presentation, and that we as commissioners authorize the committee and then authorize the project itself eventually. To a couple of things, make sure that it's countywide, make sure that it's thought of as countywide. And there are very few organizations that would probably reflect that. Also to make sure it's nonpartisan in any way. So, that's kind of the outlook of this, and so I think, yeah, we need to give Chris and Beth and whoever else the authority to go ahead and put together a committee on our behalf and come up with a plan. And then eventually we would approve that plan or approve some version of it, and then they would move forward with the implementation.
Very good. You'll put that in the form of a motion.
I will make a motion that we authorize Mr. Walsh to form a committee to explore some type of remembrance for COVID-19 in Du Bois County.
I'll second the motion. Is there any other discussion on this? Should we ask a council member, or should one of us be involved? Would we like to keep it in the community, or leave it up to Mr. Walsh?
I don't think it would hurt for one of us or a council member to sit on the committee. to maybe, I mean, your intention is to, I know you use the word periodically, that may be once or twice, come back and say, this is what we're thinking about, what do you think? But if there was one of us on the committee, we could communicate that back and forth a little more often. If that sounds like a reasonable.
I envisioned having people from all over the county involved in this, not just Jasper, not just, you know.
Okay, so, we'll leave that up to Mr. Waltz to do that outreach. We have a first and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. So thank you again, and look forward to seeing how this progresses.
Thank you. And thanks for the idea in the first place, you know, suggestion in the first place.
Yes. Nick and I thought, get about 10 of these around the county, but bigger.
But bigger.
Oh my gosh.
You think you guys can make that happen? It's pretty neat.
See, we're gonna postcard it.
We'll have to compete with those large Santa Clauses they have down in Spencer County. You know?
Put a map on Senate.
So we're gonna take a couple minute break there.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Hey, did you get any? Good job. Did you get any replies other than that?
No.
To that email? That's good. That'll just say some. Oh, I don't know if it's probably need to follow like
Yeah.
He was just, we talked for a long time.
Yeah.
He said the white house said that. He wants to express his right now. We can see him.
Didn't go very well. And product was good.
He said, he'd explain it.
And that had to do with the fund.
So maybe it's complicated.
So how's the hot tub?
So,
Sled ride or you land right in it?
More about a gallon per hour.
some of those people.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. We're gonna keep doing it. Gotta do something next year.
Exactly.
There you go. That's.
It's got to be some cooking on it. My plan was, so I think it's, put it on there.
That's big. How long the project is? They need to do a practice one day.
This will be the existing
You have to sit down with someone.
You have to. Remember, you have to have a lot of.
Wednesdays,
Yeah.
so next 2 Wednesdays. So we might
I'm sure we'll talk later. All right, so let's see. Hi, Sandy.
Next Monday.
Good job. That's all I have.
Okay, let's get back to order. Becky Beckman has something on the census this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, and I wish I had numbers, population numbers, but I don't. They are supposed to come this month. But we do have a very prestigious thank you from the Chicago region. And you can put it down.
What's the triple C?
Triple C is the Complete Count Committee. That's me, I had DuBois County and census and, but anyway, a few numbers. Nationally, the self-response rate was 67%. The Chicago region had 69.8 and led all regions. So that's the region we were in. DuBois County on 10/15, when everything was shut down, we ended up with 80.9. We led the state and 30th in the nation. So a big thank you, and that's why I have to get with Jasper and Huntingburg, because they do recognize that we did some good work here. We had 2010 numbers of 79.3. So our first goal was to beat what we did in 2010. We did that. And my next one was like 85%, and we didn't get there. So, but anyway, so I just want to check in. When we get the numbers, well, we'll either be back, or Candy or Matt will be reporting them. So we're all anxious for that. I just wanted to take a minute and just show you that census is still alive.
And so they give us an initial number, or you said the numbers will be coming this month. What does that mean? They don't say that they don't give us our population.
No, as far as I understand,
Will
we
they do
should be.
that soon?
We should be. I know the state's doing their redistricting and everything, are waiting on those numbers, so
Okay.
they're chomping at the bit. So we'll get them out as soon as we hear.
I mean, all along, for the past 10 years, there have been projections of growth during that time, but they're just projections.
Yeah.
This is a solid number, or
Yeah.
as solid as we can get, you know. And so then, for the next 10 years, they'll project off of that number, I guess.
Exactly. So, and I did learn some pros and cons, because I thought, at some time, DuBois County is gonna hit 50,000. Well, when talking to Lisa Galehazen with Indiana 15, she said, boy, you gotta watch, 50,000 is a cutoff. You're no longer eligible for certain grants and monies.
Yes.
You're thrown into a new category.
We want to stay below 50.
We were, I'm like, okay. So there's pros and cons to everything, but certainly hope we had some growth in all areas. So just checking in, take a couple minutes.
I appreciate your effort, because this is you took on a lot of it, and you were a cheerleader for it, and it was great, and it got people involved.
And truly, if I'm alive in 10 years and can help again, I'm happy to. But the county team relied on township trustees and fire chiefs. They know their people, they know their districts. They were unbelievable. So we also connect with agriculture, the library system, the schools. Everybody had a little piece of it to keep it alive. Especially when COVID hit and we were shut down. The next step was to hand deliver the census packets to people with PO boxes, because it had to go to the physical address. Well, that got shut down. So we were looking at April and going into May, where we could really lose steam here. And people calling, a lot of those were hesitant to go online or to call. They could have gone ahead and just done, but they wanted to wait for the packet. Well, that's when DuBois County Community Foundation had those rapid response COVID grants. And they gave us close to $2,500 for media. And so all the different stations, like one radio station, Country, WBDC, WITS, Free Press, and the Herald, we have money to do some advertising. And in the month of May, we actually had just over 3% response, where we could see other counties were losing steam. So great countywide effort.
So you still weren't able to do those PO boxes in person? You weren't supposed to?
They did, I want to say it was closer to August
Okay.
before they got them out. But by that time, people are tired of hearing about it and thinking, gosh,
I thought that was done.
we already do this, So it was a long time, and but the county kept their momentum, and that was the name of the game.
Well, thanks again.
I appreciate what you've done, Becky, and I was in a meeting where you said, yeah, I'll do that. And I knew we had the right person at that time, and I think you've proven that. It's hard to say how could we have done better when we're number one in the state and 30th in the nation. Is that
But I went home from school with an 80% on my couple of tests, and that didn't go over well with my parents. So I kept thinking, 80%?
Yeah.
What?
So
So-
besides the COVID difficulties, were there any other?
There were
things-
language barriers, for sure.
Language?
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't get some of our Spanish materials till late. So working with Lisa Bauer, covering apartment communities, mobile home parks, I didn't quite get that from Huntingburg. I offered my services to go door to door and deliver. And by that, I think they were tired of it by then.
Yeah.
That we could have had a little bit more of a push at the end there to get a few more people in there. But we did what we could. And then they kept messing with the date. You know, we thought we had all of October and all of a sudden it was boom. 15th of October, we got to be finished. That's it.
Yeah.
So, but it was a
Well,
good
you guys
countywide
did
effort.
you know, the whole, everybody involved did a
Yeah.
fantastic job.
Yeah, we've got some good people. It's, you know, it was fun. I know Sandy looked at me like I was nuts, but I retired at the end of 2019 and I had something to look forward to every day, you know, so it was fun. But I
She's
still
for
for
the
the
80%.
good effort, so thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carol.
Yeah.
Good job, man.
I wish all counties had people like that because she did push to get it done.
Yes. Yes. I mean, just the results, the placing results. I mean, I agree, you know, you think you ought to get better than 80%. But when you're the 30th county in the nation, you know, that's impressive. Great. And some of these counties have 500 people,
A lot less than we do.
you know. If they can, they
Yeah,
can
you're
go
right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Kind of a church.
There's a county in,
They're here.
yeah, there's a county, I think the smallest county in the nation is in northwest Texas. And yeah, I think it's like 500 people or maybe less than that, I don't know.
Really? Is there a property for sale down
Probably not.
Well, I was just reading over an email Mr. Schneer sent to us about the treatment of the county's claim from the Solar Source and White Stallion situation. Did you read through the whole thing already?
I did.
And I haven't got through all of it. It talks about the debtors have stated Vigo coal corporate operations. Is that did it?
That was one of the affiliates of White Stallion and Solar Sources and all of that.
Okay, Solar Sources owes us 119 debtors.
I did forward that to
Okay.
all but one of us in the room.
So is he going, I know we have it says here we have a proof of claim that we can file. So is that something he's going to do?
Yes, I directed him to do that. I know that there were discussions on Friday. I was just shoring up the fact that that's something we obviously are interested in, and to go ahead and make those steps. I'm getting the impression that he'll going to do that.
One thing that's disappointing is it says the county, to the extent the county wants to apply the deposit bond, it is holding to the amounts owed by the county, probably means to the county. It cannot do so absent a bankruptcy court order. So I guess everything is stayed at this
And
point.
so my general comments and questions that I, from the beginning was, you know, we've got money sitting here. What can we do with it? How, and once we know what we can, how do we do it? And that's what I was wanting to get the response for, so.
So it says here, the final thing, in the meantime, as we discussed, the county should allow the debtors their rights to use the roads under the road agreements until the contracts are rejected or there is a court order terminating the contract. So it says, the county should allow the debtors their rights, but the debtor doesn't have any rights if they didn't meet their side of the agreement, would be my argument.
Right.
And I think that's what main thing you were saying. Mr. Schneider, do with that, those comments what you want, I guess, and just keep us up to date with whatever you hear. Anything else?
As quickly as I get them, you will too.
Got it.
Appreciate your efforts, all of you. Appreciate you. Appreciate what you're doing.
That was my only new update. Still my thunder here.
He likes to do that, doesn't
I can't stop myself.
he? He wants that big statue to be of him.
Yeah, put a mask on.
Like this.
Like this.
Sandy, do you have anything from the auditor's perspective this week?
Nope.
No. Mr. Schneider, did you have anything else?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Hostetter? Nothing. Commissioner Brahman?
I'll just, a small update here, I think is the only thing that I have on the bike pedestrian path. There was a meeting last week, that involved I don't know what the title is, director or leader of the Indiana Railway Museum. They own the track between Huntingburg and French Lick, all the way from Huntingburg to French Lick. So they brought him in on a meeting just to explore what the possibilities were of a trail alongside of the rail. Trails and rails, not trails on rails, or trails and rails. It was kind of an interesting meeting, and I came away with it kind of excited about what the possibilities there are. This guy seemed to be enthused by the idea, and he was giving examples where these things exist in other parts of the country, to where, you know, you got a bike trail along the rail, and the passenger rail, the tourist type rail that travels that, all you have to do is flag them down, and you can load your bike on the train and head the other direction or whatever it is. That kind of flexibility with a rail. Like, were you on that meeting, Brent? Were you? Okay. So I came away with it kind of excited about what the possibilities are. Now, it's all long range, and we start talking about a trail from Jasper to French Lick. That's a heck of an undertaking.
Yeah, going real quick, yeah.
That's a heck of an undertaking, but maybe that will give us direction when we start the whole process, even like between Jasper and Huntingburg. Maybe the rail is the answer there. I don't know.
Because utilizing the rail from Jasper to French Lake actually has a lot of merit to it and could be easily done for a big part of it. I mean, it could.
So anyway, it was just an information gathering session, and I think what Nick John was in BS was in charge of the meeting. What he was looking for more than anything else was the drawings, if you will, of where the rail is at, what the right of ways are, and all that kind of stuff. So he's getting that, and then they will carry it from there. The only other thing I have is a correction here on what I just stated a while ago. This county in Texas is not the smallest. There's a county in Hawaii that has 86 people. And the county in Texas has 169. 500 would put us in 9th place. So that's where some of these 30 counties
I'm
are.
assuming this is in West Texas, like.
Northwest Texas, all the way up on the, I don't even know what border it is, Arizona border or New Mexico border, somewhere up there.
Population's a bigger population of tumbleweeds than people.
Yes,
Cattle are a lot more.
there's more cattle than people. Anyway, I just wanted to clear that up.
So something I have, the Community Connections for People with Disabilities grant that we received, it is in the amount of $127,743, and that will be used with our purposes for internet connectivity and for what SERS has going on at their property. There's going to be an agreement from FSSA and with our sub-recipients. So the county will be signing a state document along with some things we need to sign with SERS. I was going to seek consent to sign those documents to accept the grant funds and those documents after Mr. Schneider has a chance to review whatever those are to come in. So I was going to seek consent to do that. Anybody have a problem with that? Okay. Yep, so it's a nice grant, and I'll be working on that coming up. this or not till later this week? This is that from
Yeah,
Friday?
supposed to be coming out later this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just kind of hold off on that. Anything else going on with Du Bois Strong?
Not anything to report on.
I don't have anything else on your public comment. One member of the public. Anybody else?
I will mention maybe that bill that we talked about last week that is now in the Senate and progressing through there, so we'll see where that goes. But it did pass the House. I think maybe that was even before the last meeting, before that Thursday meeting.
But now that's getting a lot of people are going against that, aren't they?
Well, there's a
Oh,
lot,
there's-
there's more and more resistance cropping up, you know. I think in the beginning, they thought it was a no-brainer in the Senate, and now it could be very close.
So that's kind of what I'm getting out of it too.
And like I said, maybe doesn't affect us in a great way right now, but it's kind of the concept of home rule, so. Anyway, that's all.
No need to hang out any longer. We will close the meeting.
5:15.
Uh-oh. It's off. What does that mean?
We lost the battery. We've got it on YouTube though.
Bert, was it